Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode on the channel. And today I'd like to introduce the new truck to the fleet. And we're going to talk about some of the good things and some of the bad things that have come along with this truck. So what I've purchased is a brand new 2022 Ram 1500 quad cab 6.5 foot bed. It's a mid-level package. It's a Bighorn. It has the level 1 equipment package and sport package, upgraded chrome wheels, 392 rear end, which actually makes a big difference in towing. The 19 DT series truck that I traded in had a 321, and it actually, this one tows a lot nicer with the 392 rear end. It also has standalone options of remote start, trailer brake controller, and the upgraded instrument cluster. So it's decently optioned. It's definitely option nicer than the tradesman that I traded in, and in general, it's a nice truck. I'd prefer to have automatic climate control, but you can't be too picky when your options are this or nothing. These things have been reviewed by everybody under the sun, so I'm not going to go into too much detail here. The styling's aggressive without looking too aggressive or cartoonish, cough cough Toyota Tundra. And the quality control on this one's pretty good. The gaps are all nice and even. The paint works really nice. This is Delmonico red. It's a very pretty color. It's of the 5 Rams that I've owned, this is the first one I've purchased in red. All the other ones have been white, blue, or gray. And it's a very nice color, and once the construction zone is done over here, I'll actually detail it so it looks nice if I still own it. So now the story of how I ended up with this one. Again, I traded in a 2019 DT series quad cab tradesman, V8 4-wheel drive, kind of a basic truck, and I had listed it on cars.com, Craigslist, all those places, and one of the local Chrysler dealers, the used car manager, reached out and offered a really good price to purchase it outright. So I drove it over to the dealer for them to actually purchase it. And while I was there, of course, the used car manager and the new car manager, they kind of cornered me, and they're like, well, we've got a new one on the lot we'd like to show you. If you want to stick around, we can pull it up front and let you take it for a test drive, and we can go from there. So it's like, all right, fine, whatever. I took it for a test drive. I liked it, and then the usual thing from the new car manager: what will it take to get you in this truck today? So I threw out a low number and told them include the step bars and 0% financing, and I'll take it. And without any back and forth, they agreed to it, and I ended up with the truck. So considering the current market with zero inventory and minimal rebates and things like that, getting 18% off sticker on a new truck is a pretty decent deal, I think. Overall, I'm enjoying the truck, but it does have some issues that need to be addressed by the dealer. I'm coming up on 5,000 miles, and it's going to be going in for an oil change and a tire rotation, so I'll have to make a list of all of these things for them to look at. So let's start on the outside and work our way to the inside. The first issue is this driver's side mirror. It whistles, and that's really irritating to me because I can hear it over the radio. And I've played around with it, and I've found that if I put a piece of tape over this seam, the whistle goes away. And I cannot place why this is whistling. The flushness is okay, the gap looks okay, but for whatever reason it whistles right across here. So I'll have to tell the dealer about that, see if they'll fix it somehow. Next issue is not too obvious, but I'm sure it'll become an issue as time goes on. Pretty much every one of these trucks has a warping B-pillar trim on the back door. And this one is already over flush right in this area. And the 19 that I traded in, that was replaced under warranty, and every used one that I looked at, if it hadn't been replaced already, this was warped. So at some point that's going to get replaced under warranty. Now the next issue, if we move to the back, is the tailgate. So when I was having the windows tinted, the technician had both of the front doors open, and the tailgate just randomly opened on its own. And keep in mind, the Bighorns don't have a remote opener on the fob or in the truck. So I thought that was odd, so I shut the tailgate, and a couple minutes later it opened itself again, and I shut the tailgate and it opened itself again. So that's a little bit concerning, because if you're driving down the road and the tailgate decides to just open itself, there's no indicator in the cluster to tell you that it's open, and whatever you've got in the back could just fall out. Otherwise, no real issues on the exterior. And here's the interior. Very familiar to anybody who's looked at these trucks in the past 3 years. Seats are very comfortable, nice materials. The sport package gives you the nice center console with lots of storage. The dash is nicely designed, it's nicely put together. It's hard plastic like pretty much all trucks, but at least it has nice graining, no ugly parting lines or anything like that. Door panels are nicely styled. Get your little bit of cloth insert there. So really no complaints on the design of the interior either. But one thing that really bugs me, and a lot of manufacturers do this, so they give you push button start, but they don't give you keyless access as standard. So if you're coming up to your car, you got to pull your key out to unlock it, and then you either have to put the keys back in your pocket or find some place to stash them because you've got a push button to start it. So the keys, for me, the keys usually just end up taking up a space in the cup holder or the bin behind it. It's like, come on guys, just give me... I was perfectly content with like the previous generation trucks and their remote that you put in the dash. At least it's a place to hang your keys, so they're not just kind of flopping around somewhere. But whatever, it's the technology progress. We'll say that in quotes, technology progress. So let's talk about some of the issues that I've run into with this interior. One, there's a creaking noise that comes from right here when it's warm out. So along with the mirror whistling at me, I've got this thing creaking and squeaking as I drive down the road. If I put a little bit of pressure on it when I'm driving, it stops. I'm sure the dealer won't fix it, so I'll have to come in with stuff some felt or something behind it to keep the belt line from squeaking against this part of the main carrier of the door. But I can probably fix that relatively easily. So let's hop inside and take a look at the infotainment system, which is full of several gremlins. And here we have Uconnect 5. It's, in general, a pretty decent system. We've got it in our 2021 Pacifica, and it's been flawless in there, but I don't know if it's a bad software version or what, but this one has some issues. It did an over-the-air update a couple days ago, and it fixed one of the issues where if you put it on accessory mode, it would just give you a white screen and it would say code error. So that update fixed that, but it still has an issue where about once a week it'll wipe out all of the presets and I have to reset them all. And that creates another issue because it always defaults to hits one in the center and then some random FM stations on the outside. But what it's been doing is, even if I set something like I have Howard 100 set in that position, if I push it, it still goes to hits one, even though it says Howard 100. Now I'm hoping a dealership flash will fix that, but I don't know if an over-the-air update won't fix it. I don't know if the dealer has anything better than that. And then another issue, when I bought it, about a week after I bought it, I started it one day and it just said satellite radio antenna error, and I had no satellite radio, so I had to do a factory reset to get that to come back. And that error comes up probably 2 or 3 times a week now, where it'll say that error and I'll drive for a minute or two and then it'll get its life together and the satellite radio will come back. Hopefully they can fix that as well. It has a decent amount of features. You got CarPlay and Android Auto and all the usual bullshit that comes with these systems. I don't know. It's nice to have CarPlay, but the truck that I traded in had the small, I think it's Uconnect 3, the small radio, and it had satellite radio, and it was 100% reliable. I've never had an issue with that version of radio, and it's like it does the job, but it's not fancy like this. So I think with cars, we're getting to the point where we're throwing technology just to throw technology. It's not necessarily making anything better. It's just there so they can say, yeah, I've got more technology. Um, I bought a Model 3 let's see, that was about 6 months ago, and I hated that thing because it seemed like you couldn't just get in the car and drive it. You were always fighting with the car to make it do what you wanted it to do. And it seems like even a basic truck like this is getting to that point. You can't just get in it and drive. You've got to fight with the technology to get it to work the way you want it to work. And that's getting really frustrating. So now that I've had my airing of grievances with the radio, the other issue I'm having on the interior is the HVAC system. Now, when I drive down the road about 50, 60 miles an hour, I'll hear this really loud whooshing noise coming from this upper corner of the dash. And what I've found also along with that is that I have like reduced airflow out of the vents. And just from playing around with the various controls, I figured out that if I change it from fresh air to recirculate and then back to fresh air, that I'll hear the blend doors move, and then the whooshing noise goes away, and full airflow is restored to the vents. So I think there's some issue where the blend doors are not going to the correct location when you start the truck, and they're getting stuck like halfway or something, and it's making a lot of air noise. I'm hoping the dealer can just do some sort of relearn to the HVAC system so that it can figure out where the blend door should be, because I really don't want them pulling the dash and the console and the seats to get to the HVAC box. My experience with the dealer has not been very good, and I can just imagine all of the things that they will break and mar and scratch getting this dash and center console out to get to the HVAC. So if they want to do that, I don't know if I'll just live with that or just sell the truck or just cross my fingers and hope that they don't screw it up too bad. Now that I've talked about the gremlins inside and out, let's go for a quick drive. This Hemi engine has been out for decades now, so you would think Chrysler would have their shit together, but they still haven't figured out how to make one that doesn't have a lifter tick. So pretty frequently when I do a cold start, I'll hear it go tick, 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 tick for a few seconds on startup. But what are you going to do? Apparently they can't figure it out. But it doesn't seem to affect the performance. It's got a lot of power. A couple weeks ago, I went to Ohio and picked up a Mark I Volkswagen while I was visiting my parents. So dragging 6,000 pounds of, well, like 2,500 pounds of Volkswagen plus a U-Haul trailer plus probably 500 pounds in the bed of the truck through the West Virginia mountains, and didn't seem to phase the truck. It had a lot of squat on the back end, but the coil suspension in these is really good for towing. There was no wander or anything from taking the weight off of the front end, unlike the really terrible F-150 that I traded in for the truck that I traded in on this. Chrysler has the sound down though. I love the sound of a Hemi. Now that we're moving with some speed, you may not be able to hear it on camera, but that thing's whistling really loud. And if I change it to recirculate, there's no change. I change it back to fresh air, the noise goes away, and now I have air coming out of the vents like it should. So again, hopefully Chrysler can fix that when I take it into the dealer without having to tear apart the whole dash. power definitely sets you back in the seat. And even being I think this thing is like 5,400 pounds, it still handles pretty decent. On the 20-inch wheel and tire combination makes it handle a little better. The 19 that I traded in had 18-inch wheels, and it would definitely roll a bit more in the corners, and the ride really wasn't that much better considering being on much smaller tires. But it's a truck. It's not going to handle like a sports car. And one thing that's disappointing to me about this truck and the DT series in general is how bad the fuel mileage is. So this one and the one that I traded in, they both barely could get 18 miles per gallon on my normal 30-mile commute one way to work, and it's almost completely all highway. The 2500 that I had previous to those, I could get about 18 doing the same trip, and the 2500 is several hundred pounds heavier, and it didn't have active fuel management. So I don't know where the disconnect is with this new generation of truck. The fuel mileage is just not that good. I really don't care about the fuel mileage, but it's just disappointing that a newer truck with newer technology is doing worse on fuel mileage. Even on like a strictly highway drive, again, that trip to Ohio, 600 miles on the highway, and this thing would barely do 21 miles a gallon. So, and I was doing a reasonable speed. It's not like I was doing 95 miles an hour. I was doing 70 to 75. So it definitely should do better than it is. Now, even with all the gremlins and some of the quality issues that I've talked about, it still won't dissuade me from buying another Ram. I've had 5 of them, and all of the previous ones have been trouble-free. So this one, every now and then you get a bad one. This may have been a Friday afternoon build, and the quality control people are just like, screw it, send it out the door, let it be someone else's problem to correct. And I don't know, it happens. So I'll get it to the dealer, see if they can fix everything. If they don't, then I'll have to decide if I'm gonna just live with it, if I'm gonna keep taking it back to the dealer, or if I just sell it and let it be someone else's problem. So we'll take a couple week pause, and once I get it back from the dealer after its oil change and tire rotation, and have them hopefully address these issues, then we'll see where I'm going to go from there. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned.